John. Good to see you. Welcome to Mighty Finsights. I'm Rory Holland, and I'm joined by John Erik Metcalf, founder and CEO co-founder and CEO, right?
Yeah, co-founder.
You've got a co-founder.
Definitely have co-founders.
At Upgraded. So super excited. So let me just, for everyone listening, let me just read what right off your website. Upgraded is a tech subscription service that allows people to get a new MacBook every 2 years with low monthly payments, Apple Care plus effortless upgrades. I love that. I'm a Mac user, so
Yeah.
definitely needed.
Yeah, we wanted to create something that we always wanted, or that I always wanted. We saw Apple launch their iPhone upgrade program in 2015 and thought that is the way that all consumer electronics should be sold, both new and used. But just this ability to use it for the time that you need it and get it back, and especially for the crazy ones that are photographers, videographers, illustrators, software developers, people that are already upgrading their Mac every 2 or 3 years. We just wanted to create a system so they could put that on autopilot, just like people do for phones.
Yeah.
And I hope, obviously, we'll get into this, but I don't want to stop there. That's our very first offering.
Yeah. Well, first, to kind of get things rolling, thanks for that background. We talked about this downstairs, but for everyone else, Austin's home now.
Yeah, Austin's home. I'm back in Austin. Excited to be back. I went to UT and started the first co-working space in Austin when I was in undergrad. And that kind of kicked me off into this path of living in different places. So we started a place called Conjunctured that was on East 7th Street and filled that up with freelancers. And then I'll just fast forward. I put together a panel called Ditch the Valley, Run for the Hills. So it was about, the burgeoning tech ecosystem in Austin. And one of the guys that was on there was from Shanghai, a fund in Shanghai. We used to have the WordPress barbecue at Conjunctured. He came over with like a delegation of other folks from China and saw everything, told us co-working is really cool. Would you want to help us start a space in Shanghai? And I was 24. I'm like, yes, that sounds awesome. So moved to Shanghai and got a space going there called 88 Spaces. That fund, they had a floor in a building. They were only using half of it. So they just gave us the other half. And me and some other guys that knew Shanghai better put together the space. And that kicked off this whole experience of living in mainland China, studying Mandarin, and starting a data analytics company in Hong Kong. So I was there for 5 years total.
That's fascinating. And so are you from Austin originally, or were you?
I'm from San Antonio, and more specifically, I'm from Bulverde. And my dad's a mechanic. I grew up in a single wide mobile home with a 2-car garage next to it where my dad worked out of. So this refurbishing things or giving devices new life or repairing everything is something I grew up with because we were not making a lot of money, and so if I had something, we were going to make that last. We were going to fix it, keep it going.
Yeah. So what's one thing about growing up in that small town outside of San Antonio in a single wide that shaped who you are today?
Well, I was also homeschooled. So my parents maybe were more hippie back then and thought that I didn't need to go to public school. If you ask my dad why he decided to homeschool me, he would specifically say, I wanted you to have positive self-talk. I wanted you to, when you threw a question against the wall, for it to come back, I can do that. And he would reflect on his experience specifically in like his early childhood education, where he felt like instead of throwing the ball and it coming back, you can do it. That's a great idea. It always came back negative for him. Like, don't try, you're not good enough. And for some reason he associated that with school in the early days. And so he was like, we don't need to do that. All you need is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. to do something educational and you're going to be fine. And so I think that taught me, specifically how to be autodidactic, meaning figure out how to learn for myself, teach myself. My parents let me learn kind of however I wanted. So we would often go to like book fairs, and I would get new books, specifically like math books or history books. And I would get really interested in one. I remember having a math book one time, and that was really thick. It was like the entire year of math all in one big book. And I got really excited about that book. And my mom was like, well, you can just do it as long as you want. And so, I'm just 2 weeks of nothing but math from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. because that's what I was super interested in. And then I would get burned out and wouldn't be sure what to do for a little while. And then I'd get into a book. And if I wanted to just read a book and sit in a tree for the entire day, literally the entire day, that was totally cool with my parents.
I love that, actually. When my son and I talked about this, my son was homeschooled as well.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So when he was my daughter, I have a 20-year-old daughter now. She's down here in downtown Austin as well. And my son, motocross racer. And so once he ranked the national level, national rankings, we agreed at least 12 to go full time, which meant homeschool, which meant travel all the time. So my son and I lived in a RV.
Yeah.
Basically like a single wide travel trailer that we could pull behind a Sprinter van.
Uh-huh.
And for about 5 years, like we were on the road living. And so I worked from there. And so he had to be self-motivated to get through his schoolwork.
Yeah.
I was working and being his mechanic and his dad and his trainer and his psychologist and everything else, right, to help him perform. And so, yeah, I'm a huge believer of like self-directed education. And I love you talk about being up in a tree or whatever, particularly boys, because we're so kinetic and like we're going and all that. So the idea of sitting in a box like did not work for my son all day. It just did not work. Yeah. But when he could focus on, say, English for a couple of weeks, get it done, or math or whatever he wanted to, he could drop in and out of things. It kept him interested. Yeah. And I think overall it taught him a lot more than maybe some folks that might benefit from going to school every day. But I certainly value what you just said.
Yeah. People learn differently, and you got to know how to adapt to that. Sounds like that was the right thing for your son. And a quick aside, my dad used to race motocross, and him and his brother are super into motorcycles, and one of them lives out in Spicewood, Todd Metcalf. So
okay, I know the name.
That's a fun connection there.
Small world. Yeah, my son is now 18. He went pro at 17, and so it's been quite a journey and a lot of fun. And it's been amazing how many people I've met that have said similar things like you just said. Oh, my dad or my uncle or my friend or whatever. It's a great sport. Very, very best play. Texas is a great place to live. You want to ride dirt bikes, that's for sure. Yeah. All right, so
cool.
This is great. Thanks for the background. So let's dive into Upgraded.
Yeah.
So what's the elevator pitch? What service do you offer? I know we talked a little bit about it, but like what business would you say you're really in when you think about the work that you do?
Yeah. I feel like I got to give some more background. So from 2016 to today, we have been running an iPhone, MacBook, Xbox upgrade programs in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Finland. So we randomly got this opportunity. I think Apple launched the iPhone upgrade program in the US in 2015. And then in 2016, we were in Y Combinator and got connected to Apple. And they said, Apple Sweden has been wanting to launch an upgrade program. It's a high income country. That's perfect for them. People want to get a new iPhone every year. But we're not giving a lot of resources to them. It's 10 million people. And then Scandinavia in particular is 4 different languages and 4 different currencies. So it's kind of a mix of software that you could build and potentially not reuse. So it wasn't something that Apple was going to build out. And so me and my co-founders were like, oh, we will take that on. That sounds awesome. So we up and moved from San Francisco to Sweden, built that out, and it's still running today. So we've run programs on Apple, all Apple lines of business. We had Xbox All Access, where you could get a new Xbox every couple of years, and it included a digital game subscription. And we also have Apple Financial Services, which is like their B2B offering that runs through our platform. So we've been running all of that stuff since 2016. that company is great and runs itself, but it's kind of isolated to the Nordics, and it's very specific, which is, was our opportunity in the beginning, and kind of the reason I think that it hasn't blown up as well. So we've ran it for, have been running it since then. But when the pandemic started and I was coming back to the US because I was living in Sweden, I just kept getting this feeling like we just need to start this in the US. We need to build our own retailer. We've been serving retailers for years and trying to get them to do specific things that we wanted to do. And so just decided, let's take our platform and build an offering over here. But it took a while for us to get started because we needed a lender to be a partner, and we're starting from zero. So getting somebody, a real good lender in there took a long time. And it wasn't until Apple introduced us to Citizens Bank, who is the lender behind their official iPhone upgrade program, that we were ever able to really get it kicked off. And so this is, the company in Scandinavia continues to run. This company, we got the domain getupgraded.com, and we really started it in earnest just 6 months ago. And so back to answering your question, today our offering is 0% interest for 36 months. If that's your thing, like great, then you can just spread the cost of the device over time. Or if you're one of the crazy people who want to get a new MacBook every 2 years, there's an option to do that. And so then that's what we have today. Longer term, of course, we want to do this on a wide range of consumer electronics and build this into what looks more like a service. So something that is, I think that families are more and more like small businesses today, especially in terms of their devices, because there's 20 of them around the house. Especially if you have kids, then you have iPads and watches, and it's like this collection of stuff all over the place. And so we want to build something that helps you manage all those devices and kind of put them on autopilot and say, kind of set it and forget it. Like, for example, my wife always wants a new iPhone every year. I want a 2-year-old. I want a used iPhone. I'll take a new one every 2 years, but I always want it to be used. And let's set it to always transfer to my son. And let's have a couple iPads that are used and they have insurance on them. And you might also have all of your other devices in your house, and you can see what they're worth, kind of at a live view of what is this portfolio of devices worth, and we'll be out here scraping the web to make sure that we have live prices of all that. And if you wanted to take action on something like get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, we'll send boxes for all of those things and transfer you cash. Okay, so that is like more the direction we want to go. We're 6 months in and just getting started.
Oh boy, I resonate with that. Devices everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and feeling I like the way that you framed it. Like families are kind of like small businesses, genuinely. Like we have so much product.
Yeah.
What's the thinking behind the Refurbish side? Because I really like that, because we have these devices, and I know you can go to marketplaces to try to sell them or trade them in, or it's kind of cumbersome, doesn't always work out great.
Yeah.
So is that the idea? Like you can recycle too and kind of move things through?
Correct. Yeah, I think that's so cumbersome because one of the other things that I want to do with Upgraded is vertically integrate the business. So let's fast forward a few years. You could imagine us selling the devices, underwriting the consumers, having a robotics line or a refurbishment center ourselves that we own, and maybe also brokering the insurance. So on the refurbishment piece, I think the reason why it's often so disjointed or difficult to get rid of things is, we want to make it as easy to sell something as it is to buy something, or as easy to get rid of something as it is to buy something. I think that has not been figured out. The reason for that is because the refurbishment companies or the buyback companies are separate entities from the retailer. And so it often just makes it for a disjointed process. We want to just unify all of that into one offering and just make it as easy as possible. And it's important because retail in general is a low margin business. And so the more things that we can put under one roof, we don't have to give away 1% here and 2% there.
Yeah, love it. Well, we talk a lot about, we say the word fintech a lot in our community.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand it. I'm asked all the time, what does that mean, right? For people that aren't in our industry. So I'm going to ask you the question about how do you see Upgraded leveraging the latest fintech technology to basically improve the lives of your customers, your partners, your service partners, that sort of thing?
Yep. Well, our first offering is this, I'll go slightly deep into it because your audience is fintech based. So we use a 36-month closed-end term loan as the kind of the underlying financial instrument to create what is effectively a subscription, assuming they use the option to upgrade after 12 months. So you could think of it as the customer is paying down to zero over the course of 36 months. They have the option to upgrade after 24. What we have there is a guaranteed residual value. So it essentially turns out to be 33% approximately is paid of the device's values every year. And what we know is that there are bulk buyers in the space for consumer electronics that will buy back our MacBooks at 37%. After they're 2 years old, they will buy them back for 37% of MSRP. So we buy it back from the customer at 33%. We have a guarantee to buy it back at 37%. I'm sorry, and I'm trying to get back to your question. We're using this term loan because it's what's readily available from lenders. 36-month term loan is common. But I think that what we don't see, what we want is the ability to drop in, to have what would effectively be just a large line of credit. If we're going to offer you to be able to help you manage all of the devices that are in your home, then it could be a good amount of money. We essentially need a line of credit or a line of credit where we can drop on different payment durations on each one. So you have 36. This laptop is over 36 months. I'm buying a cable that's going to go over 6 months. I'm buying a MacBook or an iPhone that I'm going to upgrade after a year, so that's 24 months. And maybe I'm getting a cable and it's going to be a paying for something like that. We need to bring more of those types of devices to market, and I think Klarna, Affirm, those type of guys, what they have that's slightly better is they have product level understanding of what the customer purchased. Citizens Bank or any other kind of legacy bank, they just have a 36-month term loan. They don't really care what gets dropped on it. We want to know exactly what's on each of those loans. What is that device? What is this for? Because it has a different, because you might apply different things to it, different residual values, different insurance, different risk.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say, and what I love the idea of, is the idea one, control. Because I know if you have different carriers for devices, let's say, it's a little complicated to me.
Yeah,
pretty simple, right? But it's complicated to me in knowing where you are in the process, when you can trade in, when you can't, and particularly if you have more than one carrier.
Yeah.
Then when do you actually own a device, or do you ever actually really get to own a device? And then if you trade it in, you're extending your contract. All these kinds of things that are, I think, are fairly more complicated than they need to be. The idea of transparency, from what I hear you saying about Upgraded with some of your features and capabilities, where people can actually control when they trade in or when they pay off or however they want to do upgrade, those kind of choices. Sounds like it's back in the customer's hands. So using fintech and other financial tools to then bring better products and services to the market from a financial perspective.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. And more types of offerings. So we started out with this upgrade offering. But what we've realized with talking to customers and watching the types of customers that apply for our program is there's a need for just such a big swath of options here. So while our name is upgraded and we're focused on upgrade programs, I think today half of our customers are utilizing just a 36-month term loan, and the other half are in it for the upgrade option. And so we need to bring more things to life, including a lease to own, and maybe a lease to own that is not only focused on subprime. It's not a rent-a-center, but it's still a lease, more like a car lease, where it's a lease option on a device, but it's targeted to a more premium customer or high FICO customer. We just need this whole range of things, and I think if we can bring those to life, under our own brand, controlling the servicing, controlling the underwriting, that we'll be able to create a better product for our customers and ultimately steal several billions of dollars of sales from the incumbent consumer electronics retailers. I see no reason that we couldn't steal. I'm saying steal, I don't know if that's the right word, but at least 1 to 3 billion in sales from these retailers if we can succeed in growing our brand, getting our name out there, having a certain level of brand awareness in the United States, that we can steal that $1 to $3 billion in 5 years or so.
Yeah, it seems like the market size is, there's plenty of room for
Consumer,
you guys.
Correct.
That's actually a good segue. So the next thing I want to talk about is about your brand.
Yeah.
And so how do you feel about how Upgrade is positioned in the market? Do you feel like your story's where you want it to be? Any areas you think it could be sharpened? If so, like why and how?
Yeah. I'll just go back to co-working really quick. When we first started talking about co-working, it was so funny. In the 2006 to 2009 timeframe, we always had to explain to people what co-working was. And it's a bit like that we have to explain what an upgrade program is, or what our offering is. It's not always possible to just describe it in a text ad, or like a Google text, or in a simple display ad. We just started creating videos more where there's either me or our head of growth are describing what the product is, because I think consumers maybe need 20 seconds of somebody talking to them, telling them what our offering is. It's a little confusing. People ask, is this a subscription? Is it a lease? Is it a loan? What exactly is this? And so that's a challenge that we're trying to figure out.
Yeah. So the narrative and the story, it sounds like, as I read what you guys do, it seems pretty straightforward, well positioned. But when I think about the brand itself and all the things you want to do, that story and that narrative sounds like maybe how you message it, what the story and the narrative is.
Yeah.
Getting that out more clearly might be a challenge. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah. Especially if we're talking about what we want to do into the future. All of the bigger plans that I hope to bring to life. Right now, we just try to keep it as simple as possible to say, this is a program where you can get a MacBook with low monthly payments, Apple Care Plus included, and an option to upgrade in 24 months. So try not to overload folks.
Keep it simple first.
Yeah.
So on a similar note, how do you feel about your marketing? Like, do you feel like the marketing you're doing is hitting the mark, or room for improvement? Like, what's working, what's not?
We're trying to figure it out. We hired some external PR, external performance marketing in the beginning. Tried both of them for 3 months, and then decided we wanted to build the competence in-house. And so we just hired a head of growth, and our UI UX designer has taken over and was like, okay, I'm going to understand how to do meta ads. And I love that we're building that competence in-house. I think probably being a software developer, I'm always of the build it versus buy it mentality, or build it inside of the business. But yeah, we are really just at scratching the surface of figuring it out. Me personally, my last 2 companies were both enterprise B2B. So I'm not familiar with how to build a consumer brand. But I'm loving figuring it out. And I love being on customer support, chat, talking to customers. You can learn so much.
Yeah, and that's great great that you brought that up. I wanted to ask you if you can share any specific stories about how Upgraded has made like a tangible difference in someone's life, like any particular stories you can share.
Yeah, that's that's funny. There is lots of people who have said in that kind of creative class group of software developers, videographers, photographers who have said, "This is awesome. I'm already upgrading my Mac, but it's always cumbersome. It's a hassle to sell the old one on Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and it kind of ends up sitting around. Thanks for making it easier." That said, usually I think just from where I'm coming from, I'm like, cool, okay, we made it easier for like what is effectively this wealthy guy to get a new MacBook every 2 years. I realized after we started this that I don't have it doesn't feel like a huge win. I feel more happy. I realized when we're helping people afford a device that they couldn't necessarily get into, when they're buying their first MacBook Air for a college student that's going to go off to college, and now they can afford it because it was $30 a month, and maybe at 0% interest. That actually gives me more of a positive feeling, and it made me realize that's one of the things that made me realize that we can't just serve the very top of the market. I think makes sense to start there, but we need to go, call it down market. We need to go into the long tail of used devices and helping folks that have no credit or are starting their credit journey.
That's great. What would you say is one of the biggest opportunities you've seen right now for Upgraded? For your business, it could be for Upgraded. It could also be for the fintech industry.
Well, I could do both. If it's the fintech industry, then I think that it's this you can do everything, which is kind of the world that we're living in the era of AI, that where you may have cobbled together lots of services to bring a fintech to life. If you have capable developers, you can build those things yourself. So I would assume that we will see a lot more fintech companies that are saying, we don't need to use these 5 service providers. We've actually built all of this ourselves, which may cause a shakeup in the market. And I think that's maybe just quickly, I would apply that to Upgraded as well. That's why we want to be vertically integrated. I seriously think that we can, be $1 billion retailer and have 100 people or less. And, if we could do it with 30, that would be amazing. But it's just, everybody is so much more effective when they have Cursor plus ChatGPT kind of behind, giving them a tailwind.
Yeah, I hope a year from now we're talking about 30 people, $1 billion retailer with you. That would be great.
That would be insane. And it's so cool.
Who would you say has been a key influence for you on your journey so far?
That makes me think of people that I love to read their writing. I'm not sure that I'm going to remember all of their names, but the top one is the managing partner at Forerunner Ventures, Kirsten. I can't remember her last name. She, I think is a pioneer in growing or in identifying consumer brands. So Forerunner was an early investor in companies like Aura and Chime, and I love everything that she puts out. I'll blank out on the other 2 investors that I'm thinking of that I often read, but they're fintech investors. I don't know. Otherwise, I maybe often ask myself, why don't I have more mentors? Maybe something that I often think that I need to work on. Though now I seem to just use ChatGPT as my coach.
Yeah, it's readily available all the time.
Yeah, yeah, it's an amazing service.
Yeah, I think we end up walking. My experience has been we often maybe don't label someone a mentor. Like I know in my younger career, people kept telling me to get one. I'm like, how do you get one?
Yeah, yeah.
Where do they come from? How do you get one? And like, just ask. I'm like, okay, well, that feels weird. It feels. I always wanted it to be more organic.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more organic. Like people walked alongside you without a label or a particular title of what they're a mentor or not.
Yeah.
I've just found that as I look back on my journey, and they might not even consider, I don't think they really considered themselves a mentor, but they were to me. Like you said, there's some authors that I read that I like, or actual people in my community that might often, many times, not even in the industry, but they guide us and help us and support us and encourage us, and sometimes a shoulder to cry on when we need it, right?
Yeah.
Things are tough.
Yep.
So I wanted to talk about the future. So what's on the horizon for Upgraded? You shared a lot of really cool things. Like what's the plan for this year? Any exciting projects or goals that you want to tease out for us?
Yeah, it's for us, it's looking for additional opportunities to help more people. So that's bringing on more devices. Today, we only have MacBooks. We wanted to start there because it's a very big market. 14,000 MacBooks sold a day in the US. It's a wild number.
What? Hold on a second. 14,000?
Yeah. So
a day?
US consumers buy 5 million new MacBooks a year.
Gosh.
So that's 14,000 a day. If you did,
wow,
it's a wild number.
Wow. Okay, hold on. I got to dig on that. So, would you say that part of what Upgraded is doing is helping recycle those, creating a better market for refurbished?
Yeah, we'd like to think that once a device enters our ecosystem, that it could stay there until it's ready to be recycled. So, all of these new devices that we're selling, our plan is not to sell it to that 37% buyer that I mentioned earlier. It's to get it back, refurbish it, and list it again on our market for a lower price. And and do that over and over again. And that might also require us. We probably could do this all in the US, but ideally it would also mean that we would go into markets that have different income levels so that we could move those devices around.
That's wonderful. That's part of our mission at Customer My Agency is helping serve the underserved. And there's oftentimes they're overlooked or they don't have great choices.
Yeah.
So I love that you just said that.
Yep.
That's great. So zooming out with the advent of AI and everything crazy going on, I think we're kind of a magic ball here trying to decide and see where this goes. But I'm curious where you see the fintech industry heading in the next 3 to 5 years.
I guess I would just go back to I don't know if consolidation is the right word, but companies being able to build more of the stack themselves and being able to eliminate partners that they've been using because they were able to build the service. If that's not the direction it does go, that is certainly the direction it should go. If there's any like legacy players, they should hire a great software development team and just build all of these services that they are using. Otherwise, there's I'm blanking on his name. Somebody that always says that the best business model for AI is fintech. So embedding fintech services inside of agents that take action for us. I think one of the things that Kirsten at Forerunner talks about is AI being able to take us from a world where what we were looking for was access. Everyone was looking for access to everything, and it ended up that we had analysis paralysis or paralysis by analysis, and everything is just so available to us. But what AI allows us to do, or what agents allow us to do, is to get to know us and allow us to relax be the CEO of our own life and say, this is all I actually need. I just need, I'm trying to use our own example. I just need these devices, and I'll put them on this regular schedule, and then I can just chill and not have to worry about the next thing. So if AI can help us refine those things and move into this age of more specialized to the consumer or to the business, I think that would be a great thing, and maybe it can also lead to some more relaxation or lower stress levels.
Oh, I love that. We have so much to manage. There's a lot going on
there you go.
all the time.
Correct.
So taking some of those things off the table,
Correct.
yeah, would be wonderful. So that follow on to that is, so how do you hope Upgraded, you somewhat maybe answer this question, but maybe summarize it. How do you hope Upgraded will contribute to that future that you just described?
Yeah. I hope that we can have I hope that Upgraded as an agent can have a conversation with someone, understand what their goals are in life, what their family looks like in terms of who is there, what are people in the family doing for a living, or what are their goals, and we can provide the devices that make everybody superhuman. We can deliver them to them in a really simplistic, chill way, and we can help them to not overspend or overbuy, because the truth is that most people will be really well served on a 3-year-old MacBook Air that they pay $19 a month for. That's actually a great device.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. So I want to talk about kind of one final question. Just ask you this. You mentioned where you grew up, how you grew up. Somewhere on that journey, you met someone, got introduced to finance, somehow got into fintech, and today you run a fintech company.
Yeah.
So for someone kind of just stepping into it or wanting to get into the industry, whether they're a young professional or maybe just your younger self, what's one piece of advice you might give them to help them thrive and get into fintech and thrive in it?
I mean, fintech is about, to me, it's about helping people. So it's about helping businesses or helping consumers be able to manage their lives more easily. I don't know about how to get into it. I don't think you necessarily need to get into fintech. You should get into solving problems for people and trying to make their lives better. And often that involves paying for things. that involves how we purchase, how we pay over time, how we score risk, how the world goes around. So I would say just to look at those problems instead. And if fintech rolls into that solution that you're thinking about, which it often does, then don't be afraid to build in that space, because it is no longer a world that is only accessible by the big banks or something like that. It's not a world that's limited to Bank of America and Chase and Wells Fargo or something like that.
Yeah, fantastic. Man, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're in town.
That's great.
So
I look forward to seeing you
now that
again.
we know we're here together. John Erik with Upgraded, just so impressed by what you built, brother. I wish you guys all the greatest success, and count us in your corner. Anything I can do to help you.
Awesome.
Thanks
so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, don't forget to hit subscribe. And if you'd like to learn more about Customer and the work we're doing building financial and fintech brands and businesses, please visit our website, customer.com. That's CSTMR.com. Or you can find us interacting with clients and sharing insights on LinkedIn. All of these links will be in the show notes.